Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Diane time is here. That's right, we're talking about Shark Night on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. Your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from an unnamed lake in an unnamed state. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters, no matter how loosely they are drawn. And of course, there's only one person I trust, that if I need my bikini top back, she will throw it farther into the lake. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
What? I'm sorry. Oh my God, are we recording? I'm sorry. I watched a movie last night. It was something to do with sharks attacking college students on a lake, and it was really boring, and I fell asleep, and I'm just waking up right now. What are we talking about?
Believe it or not, a little ditty called Shark Night 3D.
Oh, I don't know if I watched that.
It would be hard to tell, to be honest with you.
Because Shark Night, that's probably, really exciting with like constant nonstop action and shark attacks and all, right?
You would think that this would be wall to wall shark attacks. And it comes up with a premise that on paper sounds okay. And then you kind of have to come down to a simple premise that is hard to overcome for any shark movie. And that is, if you don't go in the water, the sharks can't eat you. And this film has a real problem overcoming that.
Yeah, these people can't stay out of the fucking water. They cannot stay out of the water.
They really, really cannot. So I will warn our audience. This episode is either going to be 30 minutes or 3 hours. I'm not really sure which is going to be.
We have nothing to say or everything to say.
I've never taken less notes, and I've never had more to say off the top of my head about one motion picture than Shark Night 3D.
I will sum it up as thus.
Uh-huh.
When your shark movie is so fucking boring that you have to create human villains in it, that's your script is not going anywhere, and that it needs a major rewrite.
Where do we even start? There's not
really much other than the incredibly stupid twist.
Yeah.
There's not much of a plot. A bunch of incredibly gorgeous, even the quote unquote nerdy guy is ridiculous. Okay, so I'll tell you, the nerdy guy who the unlikely hero is fucking Ted from Schitt's Creek. Who there's a gag in the show where he takes his shirt off and he's like incredibly ripped.
Yeah,
he's still ripped here too, but he's supposed to be the kind of shy nerdy guy who just doesn't know how to approach the girl he likes. Maybe you just need to stand there.
They take your shirt off and just present yourself.
Yeah,
I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, and let's bring the nerd along and the nerd's roommate on our trip to the lake.
Yes. We're talking about Nick is his character here. He's pre-med, post-fuckboy, and also very good at video games. He's wearing a Tulane t-shirt because I don't know, Tulane gave them a kickback. They're like, oh my God, we got to get Tulane College.
Yeah,
out.
and they have a very meaningful shot of Tulane University's the entryway. Like, it's very important that this is it's, you mentioned this, and they say it's Louisiana. But it's it's a sort of Louisiana where the heroine is supposed to be from this little shitpoke town in Louisiana. She's the only one who doesn't have an accent. Like, right. the everybody else she encounters, it's the fucking as is usually the case in terrible movies, is dueling banjos is practically playing in the background, and people are like missing teeth and all, and she just looks like she'd come from Southern California.
Yeah, that the main character is named Sarah. She's played by Sarah Paxton. And as the movie went on, I kept thinking of, remember that Reese's peanut butter cup commercial where like, you got your chocolate and my peanut butter. You got your peanut butter and my chocolate. And it's like, you got your haunted doll movie in my killer shark movie. She just has a play, just there's no expression on her face the vast majority of the time. It doesn't matter if she's witnessing a shark killing a friend or she's just staring across a kitchen at somebody. It's the same look. And to think that this came out the same year as The Innkeepers, something she is very good in.
It's like she gave everything. She gave all of her energy to that, and had nothing left for this movie, which is fine because this movie does not deserve energetic actors in it.
Well, someone who's giving too much energy to this movie is Joel David Moore, who seems to be a good decade older than everyone else in it, and then mysteriously shows up in a hat. And Becky turned to me last night and said, "Do they think that hat ages him down?" And I did not have an answer to that question.
Yeah, this is our favorite thing at Kill by Kill is a bunch of people going on a trip together that seem like any other time they would not give each other the time of day.
Yes, I would be much happier if it turned out in the end that Sarah was a part of the shark eating group and that she had lured people she wanted to have eaten.
That's the only thing that really that would actually, it's still stupid, but that would actually make sense.
Yes.
Here it turns into some sort of, it's a little bit of a money-making scheme, but it's also a little bit of a revenge scheme. And it's just like, it is so stupid. It's probably one of the most contrived twists I've ever seen in a horror movie. And I've seen a lot of contrived twists.
Yeah, just to come right out and say it, we have had on this show, again, another Kill by Kill trope, a long series of people who have convoluted plans that never add up to $, $. We finally have one. Let's film people getting eaten by sharks and sell it.
Because
apparently, scheme.
Because apparently there's a huge audience for live footage of people being eaten by sharks.
Right.
So we're kind of skipping way to the end where the twist is revealed.
Yeah,
so
there's no plot to this. Who fucking cares?
This kind of lakeside tourist spot.
Yeah.
Where nobody else is there. This is it's just this group of college students who are spending the weekend at this house where it is established several times they don't have any cell phone service, but they also don't have a landline. They don't also have a CB or something to communicate with the outside world should an emergency occur.
Yeah, she grew up there. They need a way to access people.
It can only be accessed by boat. There's no way you can simply, even though there's clearly forest area around.
Yeah.
You can't walk somewhere in the case of an emergency. You have to depend on a boat and getting other people out there to help.
Yes.
So this plan involves residents of the town, several residents of the town, including the sheriff, played by God only knows why, Donald Logue.
I don't know, man. He needed a house payment. I don't know what it is, but boy, he got it.
Gambling debts, something or other. Who has some sort of beef against people tourists who come to the town.
Yes,
which is interesting to me because he kind of sort of blames Sarah for this, even though Sarah grew up there, so she's not actually a tourist. This is somebody he's known since she was a little girl, but suddenly he's decided sometime in the past year or two, he has some sort of black hatred for her and people of her ilk. Also because, he's tired of being the sheriff, which I didn't know this was a lifetime position you have to take.
Yeah.
Where it seems to me that if you hate your job enough that you are now resorting to murdering people, that may be time to not do that job anymore.
It's a weirdly unpopulated town. Like there's 3 people who live there.
Yeah, and they're all involved in this shark eating scam, which involves filling this lake with 46 sharks, all of which are different species of sharks.
Yeah.
How they're not immediately dropping dead or eating each other in this lake. A lake.
So what is the ecosystem? Like how are these sharks subsisting
what are they
not getting human meals?
Yeah, what are they living on when they're not having People fed to them. The sharks have cameras strapped to them,
bolted to them by all appearances.
How did they do that? They don't explain that. They have caught the sharks, strapped cameras to them, and dropped them into this lake where they apparently regularly eat people, and yet this is not a matter of national concern.
The opening has a girl getting eaten by a shark, and if you've seen Jaws, guess what? You've seen this sequence. Only she's not allowed to be nude.
No, because it's a PG-13, and oh boy, does it look it.
Yeah. every single second of it. They might as well have PG-13 superimposed over. My
favorite part of this, and when I say favorite, I mean, oh my God, this is so stupid, is there's a scene where what's her face, the American Idol girl, Catherine McPhee, who I guess is supposed to be her major acting debut.
She's not your daddy's Catherine McPhee anymore. She's got a nose piercing and a back tat, so she's bad news. And a
shag haircut, and she is terrible in this. Her and the first girl that gets killed off, Maya, I think. There's a point where they are changing into their bikinis. They start pulling their shirts off, and they're like, "Oh wait, it's PG-13. Back to the camera, wink." And it's just like, I'm just like, oh my God. And I know a lot of our fellow horror fans have done a fair amount of grumbling about PG-13 horror. Yeah. and how much it kind of limits what you can show. And I don't entirely think that it is impossible to make a good PG-13 horror movie. It is impossible to make a good PG-13 animals attack horror movie.
Yes.
Because nobody
proof for sure. Yeah.
Nobody is watching these things for the plot. People are watching these things to see people get ate by animals.
Yes. Right. Yes. I mean, I had more enjoyment this week watching the Suicide Squad trailer and watching a shark man rip a guy in half.
That was amazing.
That was amazing. That was a 3-second clip, like barely a blip in a 3-minute trailer. And it was infinitely more entertaining than anything I watched in Shark Night 3D.
Yeah. So this is an extremely, unlikely to sustain itself plan that Sheriff Donald Logue as Sarah's ex-boyfriend and Sarah's ex-boyfriend's redneck
shark tooth man
partner.
Boy Friday.
Do you know who that is?
It's the guy from Blair Witch who gets stuck in the corner.
It's no. It's the other guy. It's the guy who gets his tongue ripped out. The one that disappears. It's Joshua.
Oh, okay.
I did not recognize him. I hope that's not what he looks like now, because time and life have not been kind to him otherwise.
It's not his best look. Now, he has had a pretty steady indie film career over the years, where he has out of any of that threesome of Blair Witch, he's had the longest career.
Well, Heather became a professional pot grower, from what I understand.
Yeah. She had a skill, and she went into it. Not everyone can build an acting career based on how much snot you can place into a camera lens. Not to denigrate her performance in that movie, because I think a lot of that movie is built on her performance. But yeah, when you meet a guy who's got legit shark teeth in his mouth, that's not on the low. You're not a low-key villain.
No.
That's immediately, I got to get away from that dude.
And we find out that there's a stupid, complicated backstory between Sarah and her ex-boyfriend, where I actively lost interest by the time she was explaining.
Oh, no, I have a whole rant on this. So please, you set it up and I'll knock it down.
She was trying to break up with him, and she fell out of a boat, and he was going to let her drown, and she got back in the boat and tried to drive it away and ran over his face.
Yes.
And took him to the hospital, and then never saw him again. He has apparently, rather than calling the cops on her or suing her wealthy family, which is often referred to,
yes,
he's decided he's going to bide his time and wait for her to return so he could feed her to a shark.
It's a simple plan. I think we've all felt that. When your high school significant, that love you think is going to last forever, and then it doesn't. and then you attempt to murder them. Because that's what this comes down to, Gina. This story that she tells. And she sits down and tells Dustin Milligan, okay, so I was with him and, I looked up to him and he was so beautiful. And then we went diving all the time. And then we went down and I noticed that I didn't have any oxygen and I just saw him drifting away from me. That's called attempted murder. Okay. And she's recounting this as if it is somehow her fault that the dive master she was dating did not check her oxygen in her tanks before they went down and just swam away from her on purpose against the buddy system, just swam away from her. She somehow manages to get to the surface, back in the boat, start the boat, and his face is in the fucking propeller. And somehow this is her fault.
Which also,
if she survived attempted murder.
Which also, I mean, if you're a professional diver,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know anything about diving. I mean, I'm a pretty good swimmer, but I've never been like scuba diving or anything like that.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that first day of lessons on being a professional diver is don't swim near the boat propeller.
Yeah, because it might start up. Like,
well, the most hilarious thing about this is, you would expect this guy to look like the Phantom of the Opera, have like, this huge, like, disfiguring scar down one side of his face. No, he's still devastatingly good looking. He's just got this kind of scar around his one eye. But it's not even like whoever his plastic surgeon was, they did amazing work. Yeah. Because he still looks like a male model.
Yeah, even if you're anti scars on the face, you look south and he still has Chris Carmack's entire torso.
I mean, this guy makes scars look good.
Yeah. Just literally just tore up. He's just ripped within an inch of his fucking life.
Well, everybody is. This is one of those movies. It's like, yep, here's some regular college students the audience can relate to. They have maybe a combined amount of fat on their bodies of about 5 grams.
Yeah. It is wild. The only one who's in even remotely poor shape is Joel David Moore, who's just like TV ready.
And he's the only one he's the only one that doesn't take his shirt off.
He just refuses. Like, it's in his contract. I am not taking my shirt off around these guys. And you know what? I don't blame him. Also, he may be a top 5 worst character. Like, I could not wait for him to be swallowed. The movie has the balls to not have him swallowed.
These characters were so generic to me, and they did the usual like sparring with each other, and they made so little impression on me that I'm like, nah, there's another one dead.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think the only time the script tries to remotely zag on the audience is you're thinking, oh, of course the black guy dies first. Like, no, the black guy's just injured. He dies later. But he doesn't.
He dies in pieces.
He technically, oh my God, if this movie had the courage to be kind of funny, I would have loved it if Malik, the character who manages to with one arm spear a shark to death.
Yes.
But if he every time he had another shark encounter, he just comes back missing another body part.
And just hobbles back into battle. I think that would be the best result.
And then he's just like a torso with a head on it by the end of the movie. Like, somehow he survives, but he's like a torso. But
it's a scratch.
Instead, because they have no idea what to do with his character after a certain point, he just sort of gives up and falls into the water. Which I have no idea. It's like,
oh my God. First off, he's not only an incredible athlete, but apparently is a wakeboarder pro who is.
Oh my God.
I mean, kudos to whoever the stunt person was, or if it was this actor. I don't know either way. Whoever is doing those wakeboarding stunts, hat off. It's the most entertaining portion of this motion picture to watch that guy flip around. But then somehow we get these 2 shots, and it's a weird analogous thing here where the cold opens what the cold open is in Jaws, and then the most famous kill outside of a helicopter from Jaws 2 is also replicated here, only now it's on a lake with a wakeboard. But whenever you see the wakeboard from underneath the surface, it seems there's no tricks. It's just like someone scooting a wakeboard along in a bathtub with a hair dryer, creating the bubbles.
Now, see, I thought it was more evocative of, there was a scene in Jaws 3D where like a shark is chasing around like
water skiers.
Yeah. I mean, which
but there's that water skier in 2, so it's like,
oh, that's true. That's true.
They plussed Jaws 2 by going, instead of one water skier, it's a pyramid of water skiers. And you're still like, I still don't think that makes a lot of sense. And also, Malik, originally we think he got Et, but not yet. That comes later. But we also get one of my favorite things is when someone, goes underwater and doesn't come back, a character says, "Hey, stop playing around." which is whatever they're doing, they're not going to hear you because they're underwater. There's 2 movies in a row. People are like, "Are you in trouble?" When someone's splashing around, and it's like, yes, they're in obvious trouble. That's what splashing around like that in the water is.
And also,
it's not a conversation.
And Malik is such a remarkable athlete that he manages to, with one arm, outswim a shark.
There's a lot of one-arm swimming in this motion picture. He's not the only one. Joel David Moore gets shot in the shoulder, gets a diehard injury, and just swims towards a tree. And every once in a while, he's like, ouchie. But that's about it. Just no one seems to respond to the loss of a limb. But Malik's journey from, I got my arm eaten off, to standing at the edge of the lake with a fucking spear.
Well, Malik had a reason. His beloved, who has about 3 lines of dialogue in the movie.
Yes.
Most of them like, oh my God, Malik. that's pretty much the extent of her impact on the movie.
Yeah, people respond to her. That's how you know she's not a ghost. But otherwise, you might think that she's simply haunting the image of this motion picture.
Yeah, she falls out of the boat because several times, because that happens to a lot to people in this movie. They get knocked out of various boats.
Yeah.
But going back to Malik's initial injury, and again, he's injured several times. It kind of reminds me of the one character in the remake of Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Who just keeps comically, I mean, it's gruesome, and I don't think it's meant to be funny, but it felt funny to me that he just kept getting injured in the most horrific ways. But Malik, he gets his arm bitten off, he gets bitten a few more times, and then again he just like, all right, I've had enough, and just goes ass over tea kettle into the water. And that's the last we see of him. But the initial time he's injured, we have a character who I don't even remember his name. The other blonde guy.
I have it written down. Blake. He has an okay ass.
The one on the jet ski. He for some reason just does not like Nick, and I guess because they both like Sarah, whatever. I don't give a shit.
It's not developed. It's honestly never talked about.
Right,
I thought they were going to make Blake into some sort of romantic rival or anything. He just exists in a vacuum,
and he just bitches a lot of the time. But one of my favorite lines in the movie is, they bring Malik, they start trying to treat Malik's injury. It's established several times that Nick is pre-med, so as far as everybody else is concerned, he knows exactly what to do in any situation, such as when having somebody get their arm bitten off by a shark.
Yeah.
For some reason, Blake decides he's going to take that moment to blame Nick for the accident, saying, "You ran over Malik's arm," when they are about 50 yards away from when Malik falls off his waveboard.
Yes, because the rope is out. Like, there's a sequence of events that he and Maya are both looking out the back of the boat and observe that Malik has fallen into the water, raise the flag, and then hit this guy on the neck on the shoulder and go, "He's down." You observed what happened. So you can't now say you ran over this guy, because you would have fucking noticed if you ran over the guy.
He would have had to back up. How do you even run over someone who's on a waveboard? They'd have to stand there and let you come towards them.
You'd have to throw your arm into the propeller. It doesn't make a lick of fucking sense.
Yeah, there's just several just manufactured conflict moments that don't make any sense. Like later in the movie, after more of them have gotten killed, Catherine McPhee's character just abruptly turns to Sarah and says, "This is your fault. You brought us here." All right, I understand you're supposed to be hysterical, but I don't understand what would compel someone to blame the person whose house they're staying at for there being an incident on the water.
And yet she is to blame. So in a sense, she's right and she's wrong.
Well, I don't think that Dennis, this is the bad ex-boyfriend. His name is Dennis.
His name is Dennis.
Yeah, why do I remember these characters' names? Jesus Christ. I should not remember. It's been like 18 hours since I watched this movie. It should be completely gone in my mind at this point. But I think I was just kind of angry at how boring it was. I watched the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League on Friday. Right. And that was a very boring movie at times. I felt every minute of that 4 hour and 5 minute runtime.
I only made it to the Nordic dirge and sweater sniffing. Listen, I understand sniffing Aquaman's sweater. I just didn't like the way it happened. And I knew at that moment, no matter how many other people were going to talk about this and how interested I might be in whatever the end result is, I just can't handle it. And I just had to pull the chute and go, you know what? I have other things to watch.
Right. And I probably wouldn't have watched it, not the fact I was working from home anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But it is at times a not very exciting movie. But there's always something interesting to look at. Yeah. The couple minutes of boredom are usually, made up for by, a pretty decent action scene. So, it kind of balanced it out. It balanced it out pretty well. Here, there's just nothing to compensate for just the fact that just nothing happens. It takes almost a half an hour before these people encounter a shark. Yeah. You've got the shark attack at the beginning. It's not great. Yeah. Again, obviously, it's an homage, wank, 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 to Jaws. But then you've got, let's establish these characters and let's establish that there's some possible bad guys here. Why do we need bad guys? It's a shark movie. I mean, even in Jaws, the mayor wasn't exactly a villain. He was just he was a bureaucrat. Right. But he wasn't actively, deliberately trying to kill these people.
Well, I think this movie is trying to merge a couple of worlds. And one of them is it's attempting to be a slasher and a shark movie. Right. And it kind of, as a result, it ultimately fails at being both.
Right. But it's also a movie that doesn't have, the courage to go far enough. Now, I don't like animal deaths in movies. Yeah. But, it's so reluctant to, go too far with something that somehow, the sharks don't eat dogs.
Well, Sherman is a hero. And
absolutely. I didn't want
through the mud.
I didn't want Sherman to die. I'm just saying it felt a little like this movie pulls a lot of punches. Yeah. It sets itself up, particularly with the 3D aspect, which, I didn't get because I watched it on my television. Obviously I could see, what parts were meant to be 3D and,
but they are very obvious what parts were meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, at least you could say there isn't a lot of, like in Friday the 13th 3D, like things thrust into the camera. There's a lot of
few poking at you effects.
Right,
but because ultimately it was a 3D conversion and not designed to be a 3D movie.
There is a lot of, for whatever reason, sped up moments. Which,
oh my God, there's you are watching someone drive somewhere for 3 minutes sped up.
I don't know why. Which must have been hell watching this in 3D on a movie screen. because I wear glasses, I have to wear 3D glasses. Not, I mean, 3D is kind of fallen out of favor at this point, but
Sure.
when it was a thing for a couple of years, I would have to wear the 3D glasses over my glasses, which is always such a good look. But it almost invariably gave me a headache. I enjoyed it, but I always left needing to go to the Excedrin afterwards.
See, I got to the point where I had the thing that clipped over your glasses, so they're the 3D lens that clip onto your glasses, and that's what I use to watch 3D movies at home because I have the last 3D television that they ever made.
Yeah, no,
I actually like home 3D. I think it actually works.
I've never experienced it, so that is the only reason this movie exists is because, well, we needed a shark attack movie in 3D.
And then they deliver the worst digital sharks you can ever see. Like occasionally they'll have a good shark puppet. At the end with Sarah in the cage, they obviously spent some money to make that, great white puppet. And that works. Like that's like, oh, that's a shark movie. But whenever you see a digital shark, it just looks like it might as well be in outer space. It might as well be in a tornado, a sharknado, as it were. It's no better than that.
Yeah, like there's a scene when Blake is riding the jet ski. There's a big,
oh my God.
This is supposed to be the big, here's when the audience is going to scream, by having this airborne fucking shark. Leap out of the water like Shamu and knock him off the jet ski and presumably eat him.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking fake looking, and it blows my mind how fake looking this shark is in this particular scene. It is egregiously bad in this scene.
It's really not helped that they shot it day for night, and that they have a terrible time darkening the sky to the point where whatever filter they put on it is not complete. So it's just like masking people in a halo of darkness around obvious daytime shooting.
Yeah, it constantly looks like it's 5 a.m.
Yes. And it's really, really poor. I don't know if that was a budgetary thing, a time thing, whether or not they sort of shuffled the deck chairs here where they're like, originally this was supposed to happen at dawn because it's been a long night. I don't know what it is. But the fact that Malik, a character who's gone from having his arm bitten off to being goddamn Aquaman spearing a shark to death with one arm, and probably the most believable kill in the entire movie. And then they put him on the back of this jet ski, tie him to his friend, and they're like, get him to the hospital finally. And he just like gives up. He's just like, you know what? I see a shark. Time for me to go. This is my destiny. Of all the I've given up on life kills we've covered in this movie, this is the most inexplicable. And he doesn't even tell the guy. He's just like, time for me to go.
He's like, bloosh.
And then he gets and this guy turns around. He's like, oh, I got to go back for my friend. So it doesn't even work. Like your sacrifice did nothing. Nothing.
No. And I mean, I guess maybe that was supposed to be what he was doing. Like kind of, I'll get the shark off our tail by, feeding myself to it.
Yeah.
Is that, do you think that's what it was? Or
I don't know.
He just looks so, he just looks so like, exhausted and despondent. He just like, meh, just like,
I've seen enough. I've seen enough of this world. I've seen what you've seen one shark mouth. You've seen them all. I lived through it. You know what? It's just time to go. That first shark should have finished the job. I don't have anything to live for now that Maya got eaten off of a dinghy.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, that poor actress is given nothing to do. If you counted her lines, you would run out of hands before you ran out of fingers. All of it is poor. I can't believe so many people have suggested this movie to us in the 5 years that we have been
really like in a hey, you guys will like this, you'll watch any old shit.
Well, I think this is terrible. You'll rant and rave about how terrible this is.
Well, guess what? Job well done.
Yeah, it happened. Are you happy? In a sense, it is the worst movie for us to cover. In another sense, because there's like no details to it. Like once you leave Tulane College, it lacks detail.
Yeah, there's not even any like really like bizarre background things or anything like that. It's like this very generic house on a lake. I mean, yeah, you could spend a good amount of time ranting about the plot contrivance of a house owned by a wealthy person that has no way to communicate with the outside world.
Yes, that you were raised on. Yeah, sure. That you have a swimming pool, an outdoor swimming pool. Who's maintaining that outdoor swimming pool in the middle of nowhere?
You could spend another 15 minutes or so ranting about Maya is killed, and it does not occur to anybody, perhaps we should notify the authorities in some way.
Oh, no, this might be my favorite. This might be the whole reason we're talking about this movie. So at the end of the sequence in which Maya is knocked out of the boat, she is clinging onto a dinghy. They're trying to drive her to safety, and she just gets right off of it. They get bumped by a shark, and the boat flies into a pump station on the end of the dock of Sarah's house. And it goes up in an earth-shattering ball of flame. Like they poured a lot of gasoline to that explosion. Not 10 minutes later, they're like, we got to tell people we're here. Light off a flare. You know what was a giant fucking flare? The explosion.
Yeah.
No one saw it.
It's also, the kind of town that has, one sheriff, and apparently nobody else, working this police department. I mean, I went to high school in a very small town. It was probably it was less than 5,000 people. We had a police force. We didn't have just one. I mean, there might have, it's not, the NYPD, but there was like, a sheriff and some deputies, some people whose job it was to, look out for certain parts of the town. We didn't have one sheriff who was usually busy drinking and rocking out the heavy metal because his love of heavy metal is what's considered in this movie to be a character trait.
Yes, that's what he brings to the table.
He's
the kind of sheriff that hops out of a boat without mooring it to a dock. He just like lets it drift into the dock. There's some fucking decisions made in this motion picture.
I just think it's funny that for whatever reason, the fact that this 45-year-old Southern man liking heavy metal was considered very funny. Like this was a joke that the sheriff likes heavy metal music, and it's like, that's very plausible to me. Why is
he has a preference in what CDs he purchases. This is not character.
I guess what would have been quote unquote funnier if he was like, would have been like if he was listening to like the Spice Girls or something.
Yeah.
But a 45-year-old man enjoying heavy metal music, it's like, that kind of tracks.
I would really love it if his character had been some sort of Britpop proponent. Is like, no, you don't understand. From 1989 to 1997, no one ruled the charts like the British. I'm gonna break it all down for you. And he just ranted and raved about that. That would be fantastic.
Like,
have the balls to do that.
Like an American Psycho, thing with like Huey Lewis in the news. This whole monologue about Frankie Goes to Hollywood or something. But no, I mean, this is supposed to be some sort of punchline that this goofy middle-aged man enjoys heavy metal music. It's like, a lot of goofy middle-aged men like heavy metal music. What is the joke? What is?
Throw them on the pile. We have an endless amount of this.
Yeah, what is the joke supposed to be here?
I have the Blu-ray just running in the background, and it came up to the let's put on bikini top scene. And even that is ramped up the same way the driving sequence is.
I can't imagine how awful on the eyes that must have been in a theater.
It's almost as if like the director wasn't going to get paid, and it was exactly 90 minutes. They're just like, you have to add in all this driving footage. You have to extend and make putting on bikini tops boring and elongated with no nudity attached to it. I just want to say, for the record, like this director, let's run down a couple of his other movies. He has one of the better and the worst Final Destination movies. So he has Final Destination 2 and The Final Destination 4. So he had two swings at the bat, hit a home run with one, and absolutely whiffed to the point that he spun around in a tornado like Goofy at the bat in a baseball game. He has Snakes on a Plane, which is not good.
I can honestly say I have never seen that. It's one of those movies that I got so tired of hearing about it that I was like, nope, I in protest, I am not watching this movie.
You don't make a movie out of an internet meme. Just don't do it. Just no. It was much funnier as an idea than an actual reality. So he's fucking all over the place in terms of whether or not he actually can make a motion picture. Because if you told me this guy had also made Final Destination 2, I would have been like, come on, really? No fucking way. Was he on drugs? Did he do this with they'd strapped a bomb to his wife's neck and said, if you don't make Shark Night, her head blows off. Like he's in Suicide Squad. That's the only real concept that I can buy.
And I was reading the Rotten Tomatoes page for it, and the reviews are overwhelmingly bad. I one I particularly appreciated said that it was sort of like you smelling something so bad you want other people to smell it. The movie is so bad you want other people to see it just so they can affirm your belief that it's a very bad movie.
Yeah, a shared experience so that you understand your trauma. Sure.
But a couple of the positive reviews were like, oh well, you know what you're getting into with a movie like this. It's like, yeah, I know, and I didn't get it from this movie.
Yeah, I think that's the main problem.
Yeah.
You don't get what you want from this movie.
And if you're trying to say that there's that it's impossible to make a good animal attack movie, I'd say, well, have you considered watching Jaws?
I think a lot of people watch Jaws and they think that's easy enough to do. I just put people in the area in which sharks are going to eat them and instantly fear erupts. And it's just not true. I mean, weirdly enough, this is analogous to what we'll be covering next week in some respects, with the exception of the environmental element of it. It's people sort of trapped in a location surrounded by water, but the results are so diametrically different. And the cast in next week's episode is so much smaller. So it will show you that, like, if you actually pay attention to the details and build suspense, you can make a really, really good animal attacks movie. And Shark Night 3D isn't it. The only thing I want to add to the whole reviews is that the New York Times referred to this as the new entry in the emerging bobbing and bloodbath genre.
It's not even that, though. It's not that bloody of a movie. And a lot of the blood is CGI, so it's not even. Yeah. You don't even get that visceral impact. I mean, even Anaconda, for God's sake, and I'm pretty sure Anaconda was that rated R?
Yes,
it was rated R.
Absolutely was. Yeah.
Okay, it's not a great movie. It's not a good movie, but right. At least the thing that you're there to see it for.
It's an Anaconda delivery system,
right? Which is people getting ate by big animals.
Yes.
Those parts are pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, even Slugs, right?
Yeah.
Obviously a much gorier film.
Slugs is just so silly, you can't help kind of liking it. Again, it's not good, but no. It's got such a sort of weird, it's just its own weird thing that you kind of appreciate it.
Yes.
I would put this, this is like up there with like, no, I won't even say Prophecy, because Prophecy is another thing altogether.
Yeah.
In that it is trying very hard to, have a capital V, capital I, very important message.
Yes.
Which, Shark Night isn't even trying for that. It is, here's a bunch of beautiful people you're going to see, tore up. It was like, no, you don't actually see them get tore up. You see them swimming, cut to, sometimes it's stock image of a shark swimming in the water. That you see their arms flailing, and then you see a little cloud of blood. That's
they get snapped up like a seal, where the shark just swallows them whole in midair, and you're like, okay. But then, like, the fifth time you see that, it sort of erases the impact. It just doesn't have the imagination to make the number of shark attacks you need here work, because it's not horrific enough. I mean, Jaws, a PG movie, a child gets eaten in a blood fountain. And here you don't even get that. It's very anemic. And I wish it had gone farther with all of it. All of it should be as a crazy a decision as Joshua Leonard walking around with fucking shark teeth. Like, that's a choice, baby.
And are they trying to apply it? Like, there's like one scene where it's like, is he a vampire? What is he? Is he like Ted Bundy, where he's like killing people and like biting them?
No.
When your when your attack movie is so boring that you have to create human villains, that is a problem.
I mean, I think it was honestly by design. I don't think it was they weren't going for the excuse that it had been flooded and that sharks had come in there. They wanted to make this hybrid slasher, exploitation, Texas chainsaw sort of thing. And then when you create that sort of element, there's an internal set of metrics that you set for yourself of what you want out of something like that. And because the goal was to make this for teenagers, you're not going to get that. Not that teen horror is bad, not in any way, shape, or form. You just have to construct a very specific type of movie that's going to get a PG-13 rating that's still going to thrill you. If you're going to lighten up on blood, you have to pump up the action, or you just have to do something. And this movie can't decide exactly what it wants to do or how it wants to do it. And it puts a lot of pieces in place and just can't pay those things off. It's also a movie like Friday the 13th, the remake, where the entire town is subsisting now on the idea that they're gonna make money on this shark victim economy.
which is like, you know how like when you watch a movie and it has a twist in it and you watch it, you're like, yeah, okay, I'll accept that.
Yeah.
And then like, later you'll be thinking about it, like, that doesn't make any sense. I was actively saying that while they were explaining how the sharks got there and why they were there.
Yeah.
Because I don't see how after the, I don't know, second or third shark attack that how long this would be sustainable.
How do you import all of the sharks?
Like how is it that the great white shark didn't eat all the other sharks?
Right.
I mean of course the final confrontation is with a great white shark. Of course it is.
You're building up to it the entire
But there's no way that a great white shark is going to sustain itself in a lake.
It's easy pickings, I guess. I don't know.
What did Sheriff Donald Logue think was going to happen when this entire group of college students comes to this town for one of them who is a resident, or at least she was at some point, whose family owns property in the town and apparently is very well off. What did he think was going to happen when these people come to this town and they all get eaten by sharks? Did it not occur to him that maybe Sarah's father might do an investigation, might ask some questions, might maybe shut the lake down, see, hey, there's a lot of sharks in here, maybe we ought to do something about that.
Yeah, maybe I'll call my friend the senator and he'll have an investigation. Like, there's a whole bunch of things where you can't endlessly have shark victims in this. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
The reliance on we don't have a signal here is so contrived that it's like, okay, so what, none of you told anybody where you were going?
Yeah, this place has a fucking pool and a gas station for your boats, but you never thought to put up a cell tower? Come on.
Or even just a CB radio or something. This is 2011 this movie took place in.
Yeah.
I mean, I realized that by that point, a lot of people, phased out landlines in their house because they had cell phones.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't, if you lived so far out of, away from civilization that you can't get a cell phone signal, that you put in a fucking landline. I don't care if it's your vacation home. If you don't want it, people to be able to reach you, then turn the ringer off.
None of it.
It is such a forced and phony. You can't even call it a twist. It's a contrivance.
Yeah.
That these college students are stuck out here with no way to call for help or for anybody to get a hold of them. Yeah, I doubt all 5 or 6 of them, however many there were, just went on this trip without telling anybody where they were going. And even then, I mean, how long would it take for people to realize that they were missing?
Well, that's in the cold open. The boyfriend, the person who throws his girlfriend's bikini top away, she gets at, and he just walks into a trailer, never to be heard from again. How are you going to take care of that fucking witness? Like, how did that work out? You didn't kill both of these people. Did you set that guy up for murder charges? It just doesn't. Like, why not have both of them eaten? It just doesn't.
This is it is a completely unsustainable scheme that these people have going on. They apparently think it's going to make them millions from a streaming channel.
Yeah,
and they're gonna split them between Sheriff Donald Logue, the evil ex-boyfriend, his hick partner, and this other guy.
Yeah, that they managed who films people in the bathroom. He's the he's the fourth.
That they also managed to talk into this scheme
because it's a shark eating based economy now. This is the only way you can make money in this world.
It's just like, oh my god! All you had to do was have sharks eating people. You didn't have to. I mean, even Jaws, when you divorce it from the book, which had a lot of bullshit about the mafia getting involved and Chief Brody's wife having an affair with Matt Hooper in one of the most awful literary sex scenes ever written.
Perhaps the worst.
Yeah, it is
sex scene of all time.
Unbelievable. But the plot of Jaws is pretty simple.
Yeah.
A shark attacks a beachside town. The sheriff and a fisherman and a marine biologist have to go out and catch it and kill it. That's it. That's all you had to do. And that movie is a masterpiece.
Yes.
They could have just gone with the structure of that and no one would have cared. No, instead you had to come up with this absolutely stupid twist. where the sharks are attacking people on command, more or less. You might as well have had fucking Austin Powers as sharks with laser beams on their heads. That's how stupid this is. But here it's played completely straight. Oh yeah, of course.
But it is sharks with laser beams because they have cameras attached to their bellies.
Sharks eating people. That's a pop. People want to see that.
Why don't we have at least one scene in which we watch them hoist a shark somehow magically out of the water and start attaching a camera to its belly, a la putting a trailer hitch on your truck?
Also, I mean, are these hillbillies traveling the world to find these sharks? Because, I mean, great whites are usually found in Australia.
I don't know. Well, they're an East Coast thing too.
But not in Louisiana.
No. Those are much warmer waters than a great white generally enjoys.
And that's why either if you put a great white shark in that environment, either it's going to eat every other shark or it's going to go belly up in days. Because as it turns out, you can't just drop a fish in any kind of water and it will sustain itself.
Yeah. No, there's a natural habitat that seems to have gone, oh, we've added 45 sharks to this? We'll be fine.
Yeah, the explanation is, oh, well, it's a saltwater lake. Oh, is it? Okay, well, that explains everything. Jesus Christ. Thank God we're ending this on a high note this month, because this would be an absolutely bummer way to end it.
Well, I think I have a way to make it end in a much better fashion. And that was when this movie was released in theaters. After the credits, there was an after credit. I wouldn't even call it scene. It was a music video, and it was a plot rap by star Dustin Milligan,
who again is lovable Ted from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, could not have turned into. I mean, all the same ticks kind of apply here. It's just it really tells you how people can rise to the occasion of material.
Yeah, he's definitely playing a similar character in which they are, sheepish and ignorant about how incredibly handsome they are.
Yeah.
Which is like, it could be annoying at times, and it's very annoying here. In Schitt's Creek is kind of charming.
Yes. Everything is charming about Schitt's Creek once you get past episode 3.
Yes.
So I just wanted to read some sample lyrics from Shark Bite.
Oh my God.
Shark, listen to me. When I'm standing in that lake all alone, staring at my arm. Fantasies, they come through my mind, and I finally realize I hate your butt. Shark butt. He hates shark butt. Now,
Well, yeah, Hoops Among Us does not.
hold on. I've got one more lyric for you. Wear glasses to see this wicked redemption. Kick shark ass in 3 frickin' dimensions. Mess with my crew and bam, you're dead. Just like this mother shark and hammerhead. Jam on bread, peanut butter on toast. I eat a hearty breakfast and I make shark ghosts.
Poetry. You know, I was thinking, because of the Schitt's Creek connection, that
Yes.
I forgot that it did occur that at one point in the movie I thought that Joshua Leonard's character, the evil boyfriend's redneck companion, sort of like was like an evil rolling shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I could kind of sort of see Roland Shit getting into a scheme to film.
Oh, no, he would be
shark
all up in
attacks.
this. No, he would be right in there. 100%. That is the most dead on call of this entire hour we've been talking about this. Oh my God.
I mean, if you cast Chris Elliott as this guy, Red was his name.
Yes.
I actually, it might have moved the movie up from a 1 star to 1.5 stars for me. That half star means sure would be completely for Chris Elliott.
It makes sense. I would play Choose Your Own Death Venture, but everyone dies by shark bite.
It's like
so.
you want to get et by a shark, or et by a shark? No. Red gets a hunting knife to the chest.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that is absolutely true. But you know,
and then presumably he gets et by a shark.
I would hope, but we're not given the satisfaction of seeing that, unfortunately. So yeah, it's.
I mean, I guess we could choose like under what circumstances we want to be et by a shark.
I guess. I mean, I'm going for the water ski. I'm going for that flying swallow.
Oh, the jet ski.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's also the silliest looking one. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
You know, I would say Maya's death, it seems to go pretty quickly. So, I think she just gets gobbled up, which is all right. I guess I'll take that.
Okay. That's how it works, folks. Where can people find you on these here internets, Gina?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net, and you can find me on Twitter under Porcelain72.
Do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all those places. Please rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. That helps us be seen and heard by more people. Next week, Animal Attacks April wraps up, and boy, are we going to take a big chunk out of it with this one. We are talking Crawl, a truly successful Animal Attacks movie.
Markedly improving over this one.
Wow.
Over all the ones.
Yes. I knew we had to have one movie that is an actual premier example of it. And we were, it has to be, we should do something like Crawl. I'm like, fuck it, let's do Crawl. Yes, it'll probably be one of those episodes where like, this is great. But what are you going to do? But it's worth talking about. And I think it's really fucking fun. It's a really fucking fun movie.
Yes.
That my kid keeps asking. He keeps playing around with, can I watch, tell me about Crawl. And we've told him basically the entire movie. And we said, we're doing it for the show. So if you want to watch it with us, you can. And he's like, no. No. I do not
I'm good.
want to watch that.
I'm good, Dad. Thanks.
Yeah, you can describe it to me in great detail, but I do not want to see it with my eyes. So you should watch Crawl in anticipation, because next week will be super fun. So don't worry. Body count will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.